In this lesson, I want to talk to you about the types of angles that are formed when we have parallel lines that are cut by a transversal. And so the first thing I want you to look at is our picture. Remember, parallel lines are like railroad tracks, okay? And so they're never going to intersect each other. And what I want you to do is take your highlighter, and I want you to highlight in between the parallel lines. And this is important because I'm going to be referring to inside the parallel lines, and I want you to know where I'm talking about. At any point, if you need to stop the video to write something down, then please do that. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are angles in the same position. They're in the same position, but on different parallel lines. If you need to abbreviate, if you feel like you can leave out a few words, then definitely do that. They're in the same position, but on different parallel lines. So here's an example. Angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles because they're in the same position. They're both on top of their parallel line, but they're each on a different one. So that's one example. Angles 2 and angle 6. So see how they're both below their parallel line? So those are examples of corresponding angles. We have angle 4 and angle 8. They're both on top. And then we have angle 3 and angle 7. And what's really important to know about corresponding angles is that they are congruent. Congruent means equal, that they're the same thing. Okay? The next type of angles are alternate interior angles. So the key word is interior and, of course, alternate. So alternate means it's going to be opposite. They are inside the parallel lines and diagonal from one another. They're diagonal from each other. So let's look at our picture. So we're only looking at inside our parallel lines. So do you see how 3 and 5 are diagonal from each other and they're both inside the parallel lines? That would be an example of alternate interior. Okay, and then 2 and 8. Do you see how they're both inside? They're in our shaded part, and they're opposite. So angle 2 and angle 8, whoops, are alternate interior. And again, what's really important to know about these angles is that, again, they are congruent. They are the same. They have the same angle measurement. Okay, let's talk about alternate exterior. So the word exterior, remember, means outside. So they are outside the parallel lines and diagonal from each other. So it's kind of just the opposite of alternate interior. So let's look at our picture. Angle 4 and angle 6, they're both outside, and do you see how they're diagonal from one another? So angle 4 and angle 6 are an example of alternate exterior. And then we've got 1 and 7. See how they're outside and diagonal? And just like alternate interior, these angles are congruent. They are the same measure. And again, I just want to remind you, at any point, pause the video, write down what I said, and start it back up. Okay, so then we have same side interior angles, or consecutive. So the key thing we want to recognize here is that they're on the same side and they're interior. So they're inside the parallel lines and on the same side of the transversal. The same side of the transversal. So let's see, line L, this is our transversal. It's cutting the parallel lines in half. So our examples of same side interior would be 2 and 5. See how they're inside and they're on the same side? So I didn't leave room there. Angle 2 and angle 5. And then do you see how 3 and 8 are on the same side and they're inside? So angle 3 and angle 8. Now, same side interior are not congruent. They are supplementary, which means that together they add up to 180 degrees. That was one of your vocabulary words from one of your foldables. Okay, so now we have same side exterior. So now it means the same side but outside the parallel lines. So outside and same side of transversal. Okay, and so let's see, so that would be angle 1 and angle 6. Same side and they're outside, and then angle 4 and angle 7. And just like the same side interior, they are also supplementary, which means that they add up to 180 degrees. Now you should have talked about vertical pairs and linear pairs in one of our other foldables. So the only thing I want to add here is that vertical pairs are congruent, but linear pairs are supplementary. Okay, so these will be some great notes as we start working with the different types of angles and writing equations.